free t-shirt from Rainbow Soul, your own custom size and style. Simply make a short video, 30 seconds to 3 minutes. Post it on social media and tag #Rainbow Soul Vodcast so we can find you. Answer one simple question. What does pride mean to you? Answer that question in a 30-second to 3-minute video, tag #Rainbow Soul Vodcast, and post on your social media of choice. Email contests@rainbowsoul.show with a link to your post to be sure you're entered into the contest. At the end of Pride Month, we will pick a winner, and that winner will choose their own style, size, color t-shirt. Celebrate Pride with Rainbow Soul Vodcast. We want to hear from you.
Welcome to Rainbow Soul, a live show and podcast in search of deep answers and medicine about consciousness, spirituality, witchcraft, natural magic, and queer, inclusive spiritual paths of many varieties. We will explore the use of herbs, candles, colors, and nature in our personal lives, as well as queer-inspired rituals designed with transgender and non-binary people in mind. We are welcoming all pagans, indigenous two-spirits, witchy folks, conscious seekers, and people off the beaten path who want to explore the human spiritual experience that we are all capable of having. With a deep reverence in anti-racist values, inclusivity, and a healthy and honest respect for our ancestors, Rainbow Soul brings diverse guests and topics all related to queer spiritual experience. Tap into this amazing resource live and find a supportive, safe environment while exploring interesting topics and diverse guests. Listen on your favorite podcast platform and catch the show at your convenience and still participate in the contest and games. Get more information about games and contests at our website, rainbowsoul.show. rainbowsoul.show. Thank you for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.
Hello, hi everyone. Welcome to Rainbow Soul. I'm Hollis Taylor, and I am the host tonight, and this is Bright Hawk, my co-host. And I just want to let you know that I'm an author, I'm a coach, and I'm an astrologer and a psychic, and I have a lot of information at my website, divineandrogen.com. And tell us about yourself, Bright Hawk. Tell us how we can find you and whatnot.
I'm Bright Hawk. You can find me at brighthawkproductions.com. I'm a musician. I'm a storyteller. I'm the author of The Dancing Hippo, a gender-neutral, wonderful book that is a story that is about resilience and gender neutral. So every child can see themselves in every character. It's really beautifully illustrated by Amanda Moore, and we're very excited about Pride next weekend and being able to share it with our community.
Yeah, next week we will be doing a show from Boulder Pride live. We will be doing it live from Pride. Hi everybody. Hi Aaron and Robert. Hi Robert down under, my friend. And Aaron, it's so great to see you. And
hey there.
Look, it's the psychic Cindy. And thank you and welcome everyone. We are so glad you're here. And you know what? I really want to just take a few deep breaths. And I just want to honor the rainbow that is Pride. Every single color is needed in the flag. We know when one is missing. So you are important too. Take a deep breath. Say to yourself, I am important too. You are a particular color, and without you, the rainbow wouldn't be part of it. So thank you for tuning in today. And remember that affirmation. You too are part of the rainbow. No matter what color you are, we need you. And that brings me to actually today's topic, rainbows and being unique human beings.
Yeah, celebrating our authenticity.
Yeah, like, isn't it really awesome to be able to find variety of ways to experience your most authentic self and to sort of harvest your most authentic self? Like, say, wow, that is really true about me, right? And so when we start to recognize those things, those are really powerful in our lives. I think astrology did a lot of that for me. Um, and I think, Bread Hawk, you also have a similar
Oh,
experience.
well, and I'm a Sag, and one of the things Sagittarius signs are known for is that we love philosophies. We love different maps and perspectives and ways of looking at and understanding our world. What's the best methodology to get the best results? And so, learning different ways of looking at the world and how you interact, how you do you, as my teacher would say. um, is really vital. It's important and it's fun, right? It's fun to learn about how to be better, how to do better, how to be more in alignment, less effort, and more in flow with what it feels like you're called to do in this world. So, astrology, lots of things. There's lots of things. I bet you could put in the chat what works for you about what are some of the different methodologies and perspectives that have really gotten you to go, wow, this is what works for me. This makes sense to me. I can apply this. Because, theories are great, but if you don't apply them.
Yeah. And it helps you find your light and what parts are important and what parts to focus on, right?
Yeah.
Just like Robert is saying, shine like the multispectral opal you have inside.
That's fantastic.
Thank you, Robert. That's really good.
That's beautiful.
That's great. Welcome, Sandy. It's great to have you. It's good to see you. She's our rainbow mom. And so, you guys, when I ran across this amazing coach that did human design, well, I don't know a whole lot about human design at all. But I've heard a lot about it. So I thought, well, wouldn't this be a fun guest to have on the show? And well, he's queer like us, so that makes him
even better.
So I was like, welcome to the show, Julian. Welcome.
Hey.
Hi. I'm glad to be here. I'm a Sagittarius too. That's amazing.
I wonder if that has anything to do with our attraction to human design.
Maybe.
Yeah, well, welcome, Julian. I'm so glad you agreed to be part of the show today. And I think the community is really excited. We got a lot of people tuning in to come check out the human design. But why don't you tell us about who you are?
Yeah, so I'm kind of complicated. I have been a practicing witch for 32 years and a neo-pagan. I started when I was at the University of New Mexico in the late 80s. I started the first ever pagan student group at the University of New Mexico. And I was involved, I was the co-coordinator of the Rainbow Camp at Pagan Spirit Gathering for a number of years in like the 2000s. And I was the co-founder and co-facilitator of Between the Worlds, which is a pagan festival for gay and bi men. I left that in 2009, 2010. And since then, I've gone on and become a certified spiritual life coach. I got my certification from Life Purpose Institute and then got certified by the International Coaching Federation. So I'm an associate certified coach with the ICF. And I've also been a student of human design. I'm a meditation and mindfulness teacher. I'm a certified yoga teacher, tarot reader. So you can see the Sagittarian coming out there. But, for me, it's whatever tools are going to help my clients the most. And so I collect tools so that I have a really diverse toolbox, and it allows me to really meet a diverse range of clients where they are.
That's so important and so valuable. And I love that you've got so many different tools in the kit. So depending on who's in front of you, you know which one to go to.
Well, you're definitely in good company because we got We got people, yay, witches and pagans. So, you're in good
We have it
company
all.
here.
It's something we all have in common.
Yeah, definitely. I just
I
think
think
I
you
think
and
queer
I-
people are often drawn to that. Like, I know a lot of queer men are drawn to Wicca because, we sometimes have complicated relationships with our fathers, and we don't identify with Father God. It just doesn't speak to us. And so I find queer men are drawn to goddess spiritual paths.
Interesting.
I was actually part of the Radical Fairies, which they honor God, goddess, both and neither, which I really appreciate about them because it really helped me feel included.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, the Radical Fairies are a lot of fun.
Yeah, and they've been around for I don't know how long, but for a long
Yeah.
so you're a coach, and in your coaching you use human design, and I can sort of identify with this because I use astrology. And so I noticed right away when I looked at my human design chart. By the way, friends, you can easily just Google human design chart and you can find your chart for free online. You just have to put in your birthday and such. And so I noticed that it's connected to astrology. Can you tell us
Yes.
about that?
Yeah, so human design is a system that blends astrology, Kabbalah, the chakras, and the I Ching. So it's a pretty varied system. And so it uses your birth information just like astrology, and it looks at the positions of the planets. But what human design does a little differently is it actually calculates two sets of coordinates of where the planets were. One of them is your birth date, which is considered your personality or your conscious design. And the other one is 88 days prior to your birth date, which is considered your unconscious or your what we call your design. And the design at 88 days prior is chosen because that is approximately when the cortex of the human brain starts to come online in utero. And so in human design, we teach sort of a 3-step process to incarnation. And I find it kind of similar to, if you're familiar with like fairy Wicca, and they have like the 3 parts, the talker and the fetch. And it's very similar. So you have the magnetic monopole, which is sort of like the eternal, immortal part of yourself. And it's there present in the very beginning. And it draws in the design crystal. And the design crystal receives streaming information from the neutrino stream and creates your physical form. So the design crystal creates your unconsciousness, your physical form. And so we kind of call it the car. It creates the vehicle. And the magnetic monopole, being like the higher self, the highest consciousness, is the driver. And then we've got the personality crystal, which is everything that we think we are. It's all the ways that we see ourselves, our consciousness of ourselves. And that design crystal, at that 88 days, the magnetic monopole draws the personality crystal in, and then it lights up basically at birth. And so that's why we use the 2 dates. The one set of dates is the neutrino-based information that the design crystal received, and the other is the information that the personality crystal received.
Interesting.
Very cool. I've never heard anyone say it so succinctly. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's complicated sometimes. And, yeah, it can be hard to explain.
Yeah.
I actually trained human design consultants at a coaching academy. And so I've kind of gotten a lot of experience at like trying to shorten it up and like get the point across. So.
Wow, well done. And I think I heard I Ching is involved. I Ching is involved.
Yes. Yeah. So there are 64 gates, we call them, in human design. So they're little like, they're really archetypes if you really want to like sort of think about them that way. And so the human design rave mandala looks similar to an astrological chart, but there's a ring around the signs that have these 64 gates and the 6 lines of each of the hexagrams around it. So when you look at your human design chart, like for instance, my sun is, I think it's 34.5, which, so there's like a dot number. So it'll be like 34.5. What that means is that when I was born, that planet, the sun or whatever planet it was eliminating the 5th line of the 34th hexagram or the 34th gate. And so when you look at the human design body graph, each of those energy centers has these numbers, and those are the 34 gates, those numbers. And then the lines sort of make up some other parts of human design, because the line that you're born under modifies how you experience the energy of that gate in your life. And it also, looking at your unconscious sun and earth and your conscious sun and earth, the lines also make up your profile, which has a lot to do with your life purpose and your life's karma in this incarnation.
Interesting. So the human design chart shows both karma, purpose, destiny, if you will.
Yeah, a little bit of destiny comes in a little bit. We call it the incarnation cross, which kind of starts to talk a little bit about destiny. Destiny is not something that human design really gets into. Like, one of the things that Karen Curry Parker from Quantum Human Design says is that she asked the founder of human design, Ra, where in the chart were her psychic abilities, and Ra's like, well, that's not really in the human design chart. So there's certain things that human design can't account for, and that's okay too.
Right. Sure. Yeah. So, and I noticed that there's also some other things listed. So you guys if for anyone that doesn't have like a chart, this is just an example of what Julian's talking about. And there are listings like your type, which for Bright Hawk and I happens to be a manifesting generator. So you also get things like that.
Yeah. The types are super important in human design because they sort of form the foundation. So really, like when I do a foundational human design reading, I look at 3 things in the person's chart, and really, because if you can master those 3 things, that's going to get you most of the way to really living your design. And then there's a lot of other things that you're going to get into, like which of the centers are open or defined and things like that. But the 3 things that I consider the keys to a person's human design are their type. And every type has what we call a strategy, which is how that type makes the most aligned decisions in their lives. And then the second piece is the authority, which authority is sort of helps refine type to kind of, and between type, strategy, and authority, those 2 working together are what help you align you to divine timing, so that when you're making decisions, you're deciding to create things in divine timing. And then the third piece is the profile, which kind of answers that, like how and why, like how do I really approach things in my life and why do I approach them that way? And that's got to do with like your karma and purpose.
Oh,
interesting. Okay.
Fascinating.
Well, Cindy has a little question here. Let's
okay.
Like she's trying to get hers up. What happens if you were born late? Like my size. So 88 days prior wouldn't necessarily be accurate, right?
Yeah, human design doesn't really account for that necessarily, like because the magnetic monopole is that higher self. It's that immortal part. So it kind of knows that you're going to be born late, and so it calls the personality crystal when it's ready. So 88 days is the date that we use, and it's always going to be correct as far as when that design crystal stopped receiving the stream from the neutrino stream and started calling that personality crystal in. So, yeah.
Interesting. Wow. So I imagine, like, just from a coach's perspective, that when someone does get their reading, like when you pull their chart for them and help define what this all means for them and how it comes through, what do you notice happens to the experience?
Well, first of all, I think people are really surprised at how much it resonates for them. And, a lot of my clients find that they're not they're not using their strategy. So they feel like they're doing all these things and it's just not getting them anywhere. And then they realize what their strategy is. And they're like, oh, I'm going to try that for a while and see how that works. I think the other thing about human design is because human design is so much about who you are authentically at your core, with a lot of my clients, it's sort of, learning about their human design is permission for them to stop caring about what other people think, to stop not saying no to things they don't want to do. It just gives them permission to be themselves. And I think that's a really beautiful, amazing thing when that happens, because it's just, yeah, because, so much of human design, we spend a lot of time talking about conditioning. And in human design, the definition of conditioning is anything that pulls you away from your core authenticity of who you truly are. And so, and there's social conditioning, there's family conditioning, there's all kinds of conditioning. So.
So maybe we can talk about some of the different types. I found it fascinating that when we pulled our chart, those main categories that you talked about, we mirrored each other. We were both manifesting generators. We both have the same strategy, and our inner authority is also the same.
Is that true for all?
Then the profile numbers changed, and then there's some other things start to change a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So type and strategy are linked. So people with the same type will always have the same strategy, and there's only 5 types. And generators and manifesting generators make up just slightly over 70% of the population. So it's not unusual for like your friends to be generators. What gets unusual is when you start seeing like projectors are only about 21%, manifestors are only about 8%, and then there's only about 1% of the population that are reflectors. So reflectors are super rare. What authority was it? Emotional authority, by any chance?
Sacral for both of us.
Okay, so you're what we call, so sacral is also the same as being a pure manifesting generator. So your strategy and your authority are going to be the same for you. So anytime you're like pure, if you're a generator or a manifesting generator, you have sacral authority, or you're a pure generator, pure manifesting generator, it just means your authority and your strategy are the same.
Yeah, I was thinking of like the sacral chakra. Is what is immediately what.
Well, that's what it is. So in human design teaches that in 1781 humankind underwent an evolution, and 2 of our chakras split, and we now have 9 energetic centers. So the solar plexus split into 2, the spleen and the solar plexus, which are on either side of the body graph just above the sacral. And the heart split into what we call the G center and the heart center. And so there's one in the center, and the other one kind of shifted over to the side. And so so generators and manifesting generators are both sacral types. That's one of the hallmarks of a generator, is that they have a defined sacral. None of the other types have a defined sacral. And when I say defined, if the center's colored in on your chart, that means it's defined. If it's white, it's undefined or open. There's a slight difference between undefined and open, but it really doesn't make a lot of difference. Like, it's not a big difference. So only generators and manifesting generators have a defined sacral. And what that means is that their strategy is to wait to respond. They're designed to respond to life happening around them, to respond to the environment. And the way they do that is by listening to their sacral. And so we actually, in human design, we teach people to make what we call sacral sounds, to really like tune into that sacral energy. And when they're considering a yes or no question of do they want to do this thing, then we actually teach them to vocalize or nah or something very like a child would say, like I don't want to do that. Like that's that sacral sound, and it's really vocalizing the energy of the sacral. And so we teach generators and manifesting generators to tune into that, because that's how they're not designed to initiate, to like have an idea and then immediately move into action. They're designed to have ideas and inspiration and then wait and respond to life happening around them. And so it's a different type of energy.
Wow. And I like, to me, if it's a lot, but it's coming at it from a different perspective, sort of like astrology. It reminds me when I first got to astrology, where it felt very big and very sort of like, holy cow, how do you comprehend all of this?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And there's a lot of different ways that people talk about human design. The original traditional human design was very, like it was very almost limiting, like hearing about your type and the way like the vocabulary that they used and everything it felt very constraining. And like in quantum human design and my own approach, which comes from quantum human design and my exposure to it, tends to be a little more expansive. And the difference is that, like Ra said, human design's vocabulary and the words that were chosen for it were done intentionally to sort of shock people out of their conditioning. So it's vocabulary for the conditioned person. And now Karen, with quantum human design, has created this more expansive vocabulary around it with the intention that this is the expansive way of talking about human design for people who are deconditioning or deconditioned and want to like really embrace their design and their authenticity. So, I tend to lean more towards Karen's work and like talk about human design more expansively.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a really beautiful system.
Is it the same chart, the quantum?
Yeah, it's the same chart, just Karen has tweaked like the vocabulary itself. So for instance, manifesting generators in quantum human design are called time benders, because manifesting generators, they're kind of a hybrid between a manifestor and a generator. So they have the energetic circuits for initiating, but they still have to wait to respond with the sacral. But then once that response happens and the sacral is activated, they have tremendous power to really create in that moment. And so manifesting generators are multi-passionate. They're really powerful multitaskers. And their whole quantum purpose is to create mastery, like create the most efficient path to mastery. So they're meant to go fast, to skip steps, and to really and so in quantum human design, we say that time benders actually speed up quantum time when they're in their creative flow.
Fascinating.
There are times that I feel like I'm going way too fast. I was even born that way. Like I came into the world too fast.
Yeah, I'm a manifesting generator myself, and I have so many projects going on. I'm starting to get into publishing. I do 2 podcasts. I have numerous websites. I teach in person. I teach online. So I'm very much that kind of energy. You kind of have an advantage over me and your sacral authority because you just have to wait to respond, and then you're in the moment and ready to go. But for me, I have an emotional authority. And for people with emotional authority, there's no truth in the now. You have to wait over time for your emotional wave to resolve. And so you have to kind of see like, where am I at emotionally, and kind of wait for the resolution and then like make the decision. And so it's something that I struggle with all the time, is like not being spontaneous, because if you have emotional authority, spontaneity is not very aligned for you. So
oh, okay, I see. Yeah, I manage. Sometimes I actually have struggled with it in the past, so I have some clue, but most of the time I'm okay with it. I can fly.
Yeah.
And the 2 of us have traveled the country together in an RV, and I think that required a lot of that.
And we did really well.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I find so fascinating about this is that, and this is again my Sag is showing, is that it really helps you understand what's the right strategy for you. Like,
yeah.
What you were just describing, and the difference between your manifesting generator and our manifesting generator. And for me, the where things started to change between Hollis and I is that profile number. And what I learned was that I had this hermit thing. And at first I was like, what are you talking about? And I was a little bit, and then I understood what that meant about being called out. Like when I try to impose, it doesn't work. But when I'm invited out, we really want to hear from you. Wow. Yeah. Works really well.
Yeah. What is your profile in the numbers?
Mine's 2-4.
2-4. Okay.
Mine's 5-1.
I'm a 5-1. So the difference in your profiles, first of all, are for your geometry. So in human design, profiles fall into 3 geometries. There's juxtaposition geography or geometry, which just is it's almost like a bonus life. You're sort of like neutral karmically, And it's just kind of like having a bonus life is what we kind of say. And then left angle geometry, which happens when the first number is larger, so like 5-1. Left angle geometry means that you have transpersonal karma. You are meant to, the lessons that you're meant to learn in this lifetime, you're going to learn through relationships with other people. And right angle geometry, which is what you have, Bright Hawk, means that you have personal karma. And so that means that the lessons that you're meant to learn are going to be more personal, more through your own process.
Oh, wow. And
So many
Cindy
layers.
was just saying that
So cool.
she also has Hermit, and it's a 6-2.
Yeah. So 6-2s are really interesting. So a 6-2 is also, so first of all, lines 1, 2, and 3 are also personal lines, and 4, 5, 6 are transpersonal lines. So it can be really awkward if you have like personal karma, but you've got a 4 line in there because you've got a transpersonal line in a personal profile. So there's always like that push and pull in human design of, how do we like reconcile these different energies? 6s are interesting lines because 6s actually go through 3 life phases. They live their life in 3 phases. The first phase, they live as a 3 line. And so they pretty much they're very experimental. They learn by trial and error, and they just like really live by the seat of their pants. And, we always say for a 3 line, there's no such thing as failure. There's only lessons learned, because they're just very like chaotic and experimental. And they live that way until their first Saturn return around the age of 28, 29. After their Saturn return, they do a process that we call going up on the roof. So they kind of withdraw. And for the second phase of a 6 line's life, they are integrating all of that experience that they gained in the first phase and really like learning. And then during their Chiron return, which occurs approximately around age 50, they come back and sort of re-engage with life and particularly other people. And at that point, they step into the role model. And they're really meant to be a role model for other people of what it means to live as a 9-centered being, because we've only been living as 9-centered beings for a few hundred years. So it's kind of new. So.
Wow. And I just can imagine, like, even just me having an awareness of how things manifest for me and how I go about doing things and how I've changed over the years and I've come to better understand myself. And these things totally validate me for being an authentic person. I can just imagine that your clients are like, wow, you just validated my entire life or my existence. And I'm just thinking that like queers need that. We need that as queers.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We do need that because, I think that being queer is really a lesson in overcoming conditioning, because there are so many things that pull us away from authenticity. There's, social pressures of being queer in a straight world, marketing and everything that's out there. And then there's also the expectations of other queers of who we need to be and who, the different cliques and groups and all the different pressures there. One of the reasons that I started my queerspirituality.net site and started my podcast and I'm starting to work more with gay and bi men in coaching is I read a statistic about how high the incidence of like eating disorders are in particularly queer men. And it just like kind of breaks my heart. But I also see all the ways that we allow that conditioning not only to pull us out of our authenticity, but to like really treat each other poorly while acting in that conditioned mindset. I came out in the late 80s during the sort of the peak of the AIDS epidemic, and I was one of these people who always hung around with older people because I just didn't feel a lot of connection to people my own age. And I was very fortunate to come out into a very close-knit, loving, and supportive community. And I don't see that a lot today. And I really would like to see more of that, because I think that we can be so much better than sometimes we are to each other as a community.
Well said, Julian. I'm just going to say you get a 1,000 points for that. Well said, because I am a deep believer in community.
Mhm.
And in fact, I want to say, friends, that we're going to take a little story time break. And guess what her story is all about? Community. So let's give the moment to Bright Hawk so she can bring a story together about community.
Wonderful.
Go Bright Hawk.
Well, before we can begin, let's begin by calling out to the spirits of the story. A story, let it come and let it go. Now, this is the story of, well, it starts with my personal journey to Africa. I went to Africa, to the southern part of the continent, to Botswana. I was with an international group, and we were about 22 people, and we were in 2 trucks going into the Kalahari Desert. Now, the Kalahari Desert, it is, well, it's a desert, and you don't go into the desert unless it's the winter time. And so this was winter in the southern hemisphere, and well, our trucks started moving into the Kalahari, and in no time at all, we were stuck. The trucks didn't move over the sand, they moved down into the sand. And so pretty soon, we were digging, we were pushing, we were trying to deal with a 5-ton truck and a 10-ton truck. And the thing is that we were an international group. We were obviously from North America, US and Canada, from Europe, from South Africa, Botswana, the Soviet Union at the time. It was literally during that trip that the Soviet Union ceased to be the Soviet Union and became Russia. The delegation that traveled with us was literally in suspense about Boris Yeltsin and the standoff that happened in Red Square and what they were going to be going home to. But that's a separate story. Anyway, we're traveling in the Kalahari Desert. Well, traveling. We wanted to be traveling, but instead we were stuck. And we have no tools. We have no radio. There's no cell phones. This is last century, folks. We had none of that. But we've got these 2 big heavy duty trucks, and 20 people ate a lot of sand trying to push those trucks. And they just kept getting stuck and getting stuck and getting stuck. And so after 5 days of this, we were finally like, enough with the trucks. Let's just walk, man. How far can it be? And we were headed towards what's called a borehole, and where there's water, right? And on the 5th day, towards the end of the day, it was late afternoon when we just said, we are not very far. I don't think we're 10 kilometers from where this borehole is. Let's just walk. Everybody, put what you can carry on your back and let's go. And so we left the trucks and we start walking in the Kalahari Desert about an hour before sunset. And we're cruising along in the direction that we know we're supposed to head. And pretty soon, off in the distance, it looks like there's, you can't quite make it out. There's a shape. And later I realized that was the shape of where the village of the Basarwa and some of their settlements was. Now, as we approached, they approached us. The women of the Kalahari with babies strapped to their backs, and they're pulling donkeys. And on the donkeys' backs is firewood. Because these women live here. They know what is about to happen. And so, because we have no common language and there's no way for us to communicate, they just start making a fire. They just start building it. They take the wood and they start making the fire happen. And all of us realize that the fire is for this group. And we're like, wow, this is kind of amazing. And so as we arrive, we start helping, and we are blown away that those who have the very least, not even a shirt on their back, I assure you, give the very most. And there's a story about a Xhosa word called Ubuntu. Ubuntu. We take care of each other. Ubuntu. Ubuntu. We take care of each other. 'Cause when I take care of you and you take care of me, we all win together. 'Cause when I take care of you and you take care of me, we all win together. We all win together. Now here's a little story within a story. The story of Ubuntu goes like this. Once upon a time, a long time ago in Africa, there was a village. And an anthropologist was visiting the village. Now, nobody in the village had time for this anthropologist, except for, of course, the children. And so the children and the anthropologist, well, they played together regularly, and they had a good time. And one day, the anthropologist decided to challenge the children, give them a competition, see who could run the fastest. So first, the anthropologist went and got a great big basket, filled it with fruit, and put the basket of fruit at the center of the village at the foot of the tree. The center of the village at the foot of the tree. And then the anthropologist gathered up all the children several hundred yards from the tree and said, okay, children, this is a competition. See who can run the fastest. And whoever can get to that tree over there first, well, you can have all the basket, all the fruit in the basket to yourself. All the fruit in the basket to yourself. Are you ready? Okay. When I say go, run as fast as you can. 1, 2, 3, run! And instead of taking off just as fast as they could, these children, they didn't do that. They did something very different indeed. They gathered hands. And as a group, the children went to this tree and gathered the basket. And when they got to the basket of fruit, they passed it around and everybody had a piece of fruit, juice dripping down their chin, happy as could be. Well, the anthropologist was so confused, went up to one of the children and said, no, why did you do that? You could have had all the fruit into yourself. You could have won. And the child said, Ubuntu, Ubuntu. We take care of each other. How could I be happy, said the child, if either child on either side of me was unhappy, hungry, or sad? Ubuntu. We take care of each other. We take care of each other. 'Cause when I take care of you and you take care of me, we all win together. We all win together. Some people think this life is a race. Just relax, you'll find your place. Ubuntu, Ubuntu. We take care of each other. Ubuntu, Ubuntu. We take care of each other. And isn't that the point, my friends? Taking care of each other. Because when we do, we are so much better. Ubuntu, Ubuntu. We take care of each other. A story, a story. Let it come and let it go. Thank you.
In the land of Africa, there lives a hippo who learns to overcome being different through an ecstatic dance experience. Sometimes life is sweet, and sometimes life stings. It's up to you to decide. What are you willing to be? Asks the honeybee. The firefly reminds us that only you can shine your light. The butterfly speaks of the wonder of transformation, while the moon helps the hippo feel a confident glow. Find out what happens in a hippo dance trance. This beautifully illustrated book presents expressive artwork through gender-neutral characters that deliver messages about being yourself, perspective, and personal transformation. Order today at brighthawkproductions.com.
Welcome back. I'm glad everyone's tuning in and catching our story. I hope you all enjoyed that story. It's one of my favorites. Just going to say, Bright Hawk, you might have gotten lost in the desert, but it's pretty impressive that you got lost in the Kalahari. I'm just saying. And survived it. You're here to tell us about it.
Yeah, I'm glad I could tell the tale.
And look, everybody's so happy to. Cindy says, I love your stories, Bright Hawk.
Oh, thank you.
And Sandy said, yes, she loves the dancing hippo.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's beautiful artwork. I agree. And so I'm so glad we're back now, Julian. I have just been really fascinated by this human design and all of this information. But I also know that you also have some other things. Like you have this, I think it was Priest of Inanna.
Yeah, Priest of Inanna, which is basically the name of my company. So I do my spiritual coaching under it, and all of my other brands sort of fit underneath that.
Oh, I see. Okay. And so
Yeah.
you also have like a podcast and some other things like that they can.
Yeah. So under Priest of Inanna, I do my primary life coaching, spiritual life coaching, which is about finding and answering your spiritual calling. And I also coach soulpreneurs, people who have started spirituality-based businesses, and they're struggling with now being business owners and finding because human design teaches us so much to forge our own path. I help business owners sort of get out of all the conditioning around what running a business looks like and do it their way. And so I help people with that. And I have a podcast that supports that work called Answering Your Unique Calling, which, I'm on all the podcast sites, Apple, Google, Spotify. And then I also, under Priest of Inanna, as a DBA, I have careerspirituality.net, where I do all of my LGBTQ stuff. And it's fairly new. So I don't have a ton of content there, but I have a podcast called Queer Spirituality, the podcast, and I have different guests on, and we just talk about what queer spirituality means to different people and talk about community and connection and authenticity.
That's beautiful. I'm so glad. And I'm a what did you call them? Soulpreneur. I think both of us are. It's our soul calling, what we're doing. And for sure, I felt like I was answering my soul calling today. And I just, I want to reach out and listen to your podcast, see what you can maybe help me with. And I appreciate that work in the world because I think it's super important. I'm excited to see what human future looks like. There's a lot of people stepping forward with their soul purpose and presenting it. We have, I think, the biggest explosion of coaches, and I love celebrating coaches and speakers and other people, because I think that, and I don't want to compete with any of them because I feel like we all have something special to offer, and we all have special talents and gifts to offer the world. And if you're looking for a coach, or if you're looking for some way to break through, or you're feeling stuck or something, reach out to coaches and just find one that vibes with you. Find one that kind of lights you up, And I just think that I just wonder where humans are going to go with that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an exciting time to be alive. And I mean, we've got the Star Seeds who are doing their work here too. And I actually train other spiritual coaches as well. I'm on the faculty of Starseed Academy Coach Training, where we train spiritual life coaches. It's an ICF accredited program. So it's amazing how much, and I think it's just, the big thing that I think is really driving that there's so many more coaches and so many more soulpreneurs and spiritual practitioners is that people have started to shed the conditioning around asking for help. And people are willing to ask for help and say, I'm stuck. I need some help.
Yeah. And I've also noticed that the competition has, it still exists for some people, and some of us are conditioned to compete. But there's also a general sort of movement towards a more cooperative experience, which I really enjoy.
Yeah,
because I've always been uncomfortable with competition.
Yeah, some of my favorite things that I've done have been collaborations with other coaches. I did a collaboration with a number of coaches at New Year's. We did a 31-day meditation challenge to help people set a New Year's resolution that they were going to meditate every day. And so we did this collaboration where people got a downloadable guided meditation from a coach and a little video message every day in January. And it was so much fun to do. And I just love working with other talented people.
Yes, and expanding our toolkit. I know that our friend, the psychic Cindy, is also a soulpreneur. I just happen to know that. And she asked, does everyone have 2 sets of numbers for their incarnation cross? Which we didn't really talk about yet, but yeah.
So I think you mean profile, Cindy, rather than incarnation cross. And everyone does have 2 numbers for their profile. It's the combination of their sun from their conscious and their unconscious. So it's in particular, it's the lines. So if you look at your chart, you look at the numbers after the dot in your sun, you'll see that those are the numbers that make up your profile.
I think she's talking about, look at this. See that where it says left angle cross of dimension?
Got it. So there's 4 numbers there. So the incarnation cross, we normally just look up the gate that is, I believe, the conscious sun, the first number in that. But the incarnation cross is actually the cross of the 4 gates of your conscious and unconscious sun and earth. And those 4 are always going to be cross each other. And so that's your incarnation cross, are those 4 gates.
Oh, I see. Okay. And everybody has a different incarnation cross. Right?
There's 64 core numbers, basically, based on where the personality sun lands. And then there's a different version of the gate based on whether your profile is left angle, right angle, or juxtaposition. So if you see LAX, that means it's a left angle cross. If you see RAX in the name, it's a right angle cross. And then there's a juxtaposition cross as well. So your incarnation cross is always going to match the geometry of your profile. So if the first number of your profile is larger, you're a left angle, and that means your incarnation cross will be one of the LAX crosses, but there are 64 different LAX crosses.
Wow. And what does that mean? What does that mean that you're, is it just how you...
So the incarnation cross is considered a destiny kind of thing. So it's got a lot to do with your purpose. And so there are 4 primary categories that all of the crosses fit into in human design. There's civilization, or initiation, which is about beginnings. There's civilization, which is about building. There's the cross of duality, which is all about those paradoxes between opposites. And then there's what we call mutation, which mutation in human design talks a lot about evolution, because human evolution is how we got to be 9-centered beings. There's another evolution in our solar plexus center coming in about 2027 that's been predicted that deals more with spiritual awareness. And so mutation, is how species evolve. A cell mutates and it creates something new and it evolves. So mutation is talked about a lot in human design, and it just is about like innovative change, about basically a change that is better than the way we were doing things before. And so people who have those mutation crosses are really their purpose is to sort of mix things up, to find new ways of doing things, to create change, to help create evolution.
Wow. Yeah. So that's really like beautiful and special, and wow, because I just find that especially people that are in their 20s, even 30s, and even now, I'm 47 years old, and I still want to know, wait a minute, which way am I supposed to be going? I still need to be reminded of what's my destiny.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also a lot in human design around the G center and purpose and direction in life too. So that's the diamond shaped center right below the throat. And the G center is the center of our identity and our purpose and our direction. It's where our magnetic monopole sits in the body. People who have a defined G center, like I do, are really clear about their identity. They know who they are. They know where they're going. They're very consistent in it. People who have an undefined G center tend to be a lot less consistent around who they are and what direction they're going. Like they tend to sort of, it evolves over time for them. And that's a very natural process for them. So the downside of that is that people, any of your open centers is where you receive the most conditioning in your chart, because people who have the defined centers, their energy kind of conditions you, their energy field. And when people are heavily conditioned, then those open centers create sort of themes that they start to live in their lives. So for instance, people who have a undefined G center and are heavily conditioned, they start to struggle with, am I lovable? Do I know where I'm going in life? Who am I? They really struggle with like identity and whether there's someone they can be loved. And so it's really something that, so helping people with that deconditioning process helps people with things like self-worth and self-love and direction and speaking up for themselves and getting in touch with their emotions and where they're moody and things like all of these things are in the human design chart. And when we start to help someone peel back those layers and keep decondition, then they start to get in touch with all of those things, their self-love, their self-worth, all of those things that a lot of people struggle with.
That's beautiful. I just want to applaud you for helping, being one of those guides on the path for, many souls. That this is one of those things where I want to, everybody in the world should have their chart read and their chart done, be it astrology. And I think you should do human design, because both have, different things to offer you.
Yeah.
And, the beautiful thing is when you find the reader that's right for you, you get so much insight about how you do you. And for me, I felt like I was forever trying to rub out a freckle because society said that spot shouldn't be there. And then I did my chart. I had a really great reading. And then, gosh, Hollis gave me a really great reading. And suddenly I was like, oh, I love you, Spot. You're beautiful. That's part of me.
Yeah, human design is a lot like astrology. Like I usually tell people who are new to human design, start with a foundation reading and really like learn about your type, your authority, and your profile, and then do additional sessions and go deeper into your chart as you sort of start to decondition, because you can always revisit it and find more in it. Because I've had lots of astrology readings and somebody always tells me something new about myself that's in my astrological chart that I didn't know. So, and it's the same way with human design. You just keep peeling back those layers. And small plug I'll offer here too is I do teach a 10-week long human design consultants training through Starseed Academy Coach Training. And so I think this year it's going to be in the fall. It's 10 weeks long, and you learn how to read charts for people and about the business of human design and how to read charts and what it all means. And you can go to starseedacademycoachtraining.com and put yourself on the waiting list if that's something that you're interested in.
That's great.
Starseed Academy.
Coachtraining.com.
Okay.
Training.
I'm just going to make sure I put it. There you go. It's in the chat. Cool. Everybody. Awesome. And I want to just honor our co-host, Lacrosse.
Hey.
He is just chiming in from work, and he's saying this is so amazing. The complexity of a human is beautiful. I agree, Lacrosse. I agree. And I think that's what makes every single one of us a special, beautiful soul. And I always say that, like, each one of us are a beautiful, divine, imperfect, perfect reflection of the universe. And even for human design, that still applies.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to pull 3 cards as we start to wind down our show tonight, friends. If you have any last minute questions, stick them in the comments. And I'm just going to pull together a few cards. And I want to remind you about the Rainbow Soul contest, friends. We could really use some help spreading the word about Rainbow Soul. So we're willing to give you a t-shirt if you help us. All you have to do is make a video and tell us what pride means to you. Tag Rainbow Soul, and then we'll decide at the end of the month with some other people, and we'll all choose, and so whoever wins will get a t-shirt. And so on to our moment now, and happy Pride to all my friends. I'm using a Pride deck. As I pull 3 cards and do a reading for you today, be sure that you take what you like and leave the rest. Don't worry, my friends, not everything is meant for everyone. There's a lot of us watching, and a lot of us, available. And I first want to, I'm going to go ahead and put me up big so that people that need to read my lips can read my lips. And so this is 8 of Wands. And the 8 of Wands is all about going through all the messages and information coming into you. This is like, let's get through each part of this. Let's look at what each one of these messages is and what's this information. So if you feel like you've had a lot of information coming in, just go ahead and grab that and look at it. Make sure you look at it and make sure you give gratitude for it and send your messages out. So this is all about communication, especially in the last week or so. And, Mercury did go direct this week. So you're probably feels a little bit looser now, and Mercury will better carry our messages where they need to go. And so that's what this is all about. This is like in the last week, my friends, and all the information that came through today in the show. Well, guess where it's going? It's going to lead you to enlightenment, to the sun. This is a beautiful card. This is owning your own power, owning your own authenticity and how you walk in the world and what makes you beautiful. That's what this is all about. That's where we're at, friends. Happy Pride. This is to celebrate pride. This is to celebrate all of us and every color of the rainbow. And as we go forward, my friends, this is about balance. And the first thing I just now thought, like, this is temperance. Okay. It's always about balance. But the first thing I thought was, okay, so when you're going to the pride party, friends, be careful how many drinks you have. Be aware of your balance. Take care of yourself. Introverts, take time to yourself. Go walk and just sit under a tree for 10 minutes at Pride, okay? Whatever you need to do to win your heart and keep yourself balanced, remember every day to be sure to take time for you. Whatever that looks like. And that's what this is about. In the coming weeks, make sure that you're paying attention to how well you're balancing your personal life and where you're going and having fun at Pride and maybe your work and health and things like that. Just try to keep it all in balance. Try to stay focused on that. And so, my friends, remember to process and take in all of the information, especially as Mercury goes direct for us. And be sure to celebrate and honor all the colors of the rainbow. The sun, and and follow the sun. Remember to celebrate all parts of you and to celebrate exactly where you're going and to celebrate who you are. You are a perfectly great reflection of the universe. You were made that way. That's what this is all about. And this card here is all about balance. So just keep your balance. Be sure not to have one too many drinks, maybe one piece of cake. Okay. All right, my friends. I hope you enjoyed that. Remember, just take what you like and leave the rest. We appreciate you. And thank you, Julian.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being part of Rainbow Soul.
Thank you for inviting me. This has been great.
Well, we have totally appreciated all of your knowledge about human design. And Lacrosse asked, where do you recommend getting a chart read?
Yeah, I recommend you get your chart read by any human design reader that you resonate with. It's just like getting one from an astrologer. Find somebody that you feel good about and that you trust them and feel a connection to them. So you can learn about my human design readings on my priestofinanna.com website, which is also linked off the queerspirituality.net, so you can find me there. There are also some students of mine who read. There's Jordi Chevalier, who's at Journey Through the Darkness on Instagram. SB, I don't know if SB's reading currently, but I've got a couple students. So there's a lot. And then, of course, Karen Curry Parker, you can look up her community. She has a number of readers that have trained with her. So yeah, there's a lot of people that read for human design.
Okay. And they can get a reading from you too, right?
Yes, I offer different levels of readings. I have a foundation reading, and then I have a couple of 1-hour sessions. I have a business reading and a life purpose reading that I offer. I don't do relationship readings and some other things because I don't coach that. And they're not up on my website right now, but I do a limited number of sliding scale human design readings every week. So, if you look at the readings that I have and it's not affordable, reach out to me because I can make one of the sliding scale ones available to you.
Thank you so much for doing that, Julian.
Yeah.
That's really special. I understand that. And I try to do things like that too. So I appreciate knowing other people that also do that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really important that we make this stuff available to everybody.
Agreed.
So I'm so grateful for you to be on the show and so happy we could introduce you to the Rainbow Soul community. And we love and appreciate you. I hope we have you back on because sometimes we have groups. So, and thank you, Bright Hawk.
Always a pleasure.
For co-hosting with me.
Yeah.
I appreciate our connection. And I also appreciate your perspective and just your intelligence. And I appreciate you being here.
Thank you. You do a great job with this show.
Thank you. And thanks, Lacrosse, for chiming in, friend.
Thanks for everybody listening.
And thank you to Cindy, the psychic Cindy, and Sandy, and Robert White, who I know was here a little earlier. And he could still be here. And thank you, Sandy. By the way, Sandy says she's a queer mom. So if you need a mom hug, Sandy's up for it. All right.
All right. That's great. Aww.
All right, friends. Good night. And you have a happy Pride 1 week. And we'll see you next week live from Boulder, Colorado. Boulder Pride. All right. Good night.
Thank you for watching Rainbow Soul. We are so grateful for your presence and listening in this past hour. Be sure you're subscribed and get notifications so you can join us and catch us every Sunday night here live. We appreciate you sharing, commenting, reacting, and inviting others to the show. This is a show for you, so tell us, who would you like to see on the next show? What topics inspire you? You can always find replays, more about the host, blog posts, merchandise, information about games and contests, and social media links at rainbowsoul.show. We love to show our gratitude with fun and games and contests with prizes that celebrate who we are as a community. Rainbow Soul holds the intention to explore consciousness and spirituality in cultures with a deep reverence for cultural roots, equality, and inclusion. We are always striving to recognize the spiritual medicine available to all of us in the modern world. We hope that you walk away knowing that you are perfectly valid in whatever identity you embrace for yourself and that you are sacred just as you are. Thank you so much for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.
Win a free t-shirt from Rainbow Soul, your own custom size and style. Simply make a short video, 30 second to 3 minutes. Post it on social media and tag #Rainbow Soul Vodcast so we can find you. Answer one simple question. What does pride mean to you? Answer that question in a 30 second to 3 minute video, tag #Rainbow Soul Vodcast, and post on your social media of choice. Email contests@rainbowsoul.show with a link to your post to be sure you're entered into the contest. At the end of Pride Month, we will pick a winner, and that winner will choose their own style, size, color t-shirt. Celebrate Pride with Rainbow Soul Vodcast. We want to hear from you.
Jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. So what exactly does that mean? It is a figure of speech in reference to a person who has dabbled in many things rather than gaining expertise by only focusing on one. So much knowledge and wisdom out there at our fingertips, yet so difficult to grasp. Everything and everyone has a little piece of the truth, and it is up to us to determine what our truth is. In this busy world, creating the time, the space to nourish our bodies, mind, and soul has become a difficult task. So let's take a moment to learn something small, in whatever way the universe decides to reveal it. It could be someone's story, a quote, a spiritual practice, maybe a song or a movie. The opportunities are limitless and all around us if we just take a moment to see. We are all students of life experiences, so let us learn from one another. There is no right or wrong path. There is only your path and your journey. So let's begin our adventure and explore all the world has to offer, and let us become a master of none.